I think every so often we need to reflect on where we are. So the first day after the coronation is a good time to reflect. And I'd like to reflect briefly today about how the war in Ukraine began. So I think there's no doubt about who is the enemy here, who is the aggressor, who invaded another sovereign territory. That is Mr. Putin. And there's no doubt also that Mr. Zelensky has been a superlative war leader, is extraordinarily charismatic, and has used his acting skills to the best effect. As King Charles said, it's sometimes in politics it's important to be an actor. But if we go back, we see the slippery fingers of the Secret Service on both sides, on the American side in Ukraine and on the Russian side. So in America in February 2014, there's video footage of an assistant to the Secretary of State, a person called Karen Nuland, who met Yanukovych, the president, and opposition leaders in Kyiv. And she was then very rude about the EU for getting in the way of American plans to influence the direction of Ukrainian politics away from Russian control. It involved a climb down on US TV when the specific recording was played. Now, the specific recording came from a Russian source and had a Russian transcript. In turn, when Putin invaded Ukraine, he was relying on FSB spying. And after the invasion went so dramatically wrong, and the Ukrainians were not lining the streets, throwing flowers like the Austrians apparently during the invasion by Hitler, Putin arrested FSB leaders and put them under house arrest, and senior leaders were subsequently thrown into prison, but we don't know their names. Now, this was specifically the Fifth Service of the FSB that was responsible for spying in the Ukraine. But that's not possible, because the FSB, by definition, is an organization with a remit at home, domestically, not foreign spying. And the FSB seems to have reinterpreted its internal agency remit to allow for the bizarre understanding that it could operate in any post-USSR territory. And so that is how they explained away what they were doing, with a certain amount of incompetence. So lying behind the invasion by Putin of Ukraine is the shadowy world of international espionage between Russia and America. Now, I'm not for one moment going to suggest that I agree with anybody who says that America started the war between Russia and Ukraine. No, only one person invaded Ukraine, and that was Putin. And that invasion began not in spring last year, but way back in 2014, when the Wagner Brigade and mercenaries moved into the Donbass and fomented chaos and uprising. That's where the real invasion began. And that, again, has got the hand of Putin all over it. So I think we have to be very clear about the shadowy movements. But we also have to be very clear that the US had plans way back at the time of Obama. And they were engaging with both the legitimate government and with the opposition of Ukraine